everybody and welcome back. Thought I'd go through a bit of an update with the Ducati, but rather than just sort of sitting in the shed, we'll go for a ride while we're at it. So I just want to run over a few things, like things I've learned, why I did the things I did, choices I made, that kind of stuff, and talk about quite a number of questions that have come up repeatedly, or a number of comments that have come up repeatedly. But let's start at the beginning. Let's go back to the original diagnosis. Now, the silly thing is, that I've been formally trained in root cause analysis, and yet I ignored it. The key ingredient when it comes to doing any sort of root cause analysis is going in with an open mind and letting the evidence speak. And I didn't do that. I went in with preconceived notions, and I let the evidence meet my agenda. You know, like climate change activists. So let's have a think about what we were looking at there. We had compression that was down slightly, even though I hadn't warmed the engine up and done the compression test properly. And the fact is that the compression, while it wasn't fantastic, it wasn't horrible either. And that evidence was found when we pulled the motor apart. One of the cylinders had slightly wide or out of spec, but not only just out of spec, compression ring wear or compression ring gap. But the oil ring gaps were terrible. You're not going to see that on a compression test. And we also had a bent inlet valve, which I wasn't aware of. It mustn't have been very bent, but it was bent. But I ignored that. Well, I went with my gut. I didn't ignore it. I kind of, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, something not right in the cylinders and piston department. But let's keep an open mind and keep moving forward. And so then I decided I was going to pull the motor out, and people were saying, what are you pulling the motor out for? You don't need to do that. Well, you know, yeah, you do. If you're going to take the cylinder head off, you've got to pull the motor out. So let's ignore that one. So what I initially thought was worn out valve guides turned out to be completely worn out oil rings. And that appears to have been something that a factory installed issue. I'm not going to go on about a lot of the other questions and what have you, but some of the key ones, and ones that are worth mentioning, hover around the crankshaft. Why use the ACL bearings was one question that came up a bit. Like, why are we making that decision to do that? For me, it was cost. And I wasn't really aware. Like Twan said, oh no, use them, they're better. They're usually about 0.01 of a millimetre more thinner, so they give you just a little bit more oil clearance, which is not a bad thing with these engines. They tend to run a very tight oil clearance, and has historically proven to be an issue to some bikes. With some bikes, and they're all going that way. I'm going this way. But as it turns out, the main reason that Twan recommended using those Toyota bearings, or the ACL race bearings, is the material is a lot better, and it's similar to the material that is used in the Corsa bearings, the Ducati Corsa bearings. So they can handle a lot more punishment. I didn't know that, I do now. Why did I choose to use the second-hand bearings was another one that kept coming up. Because it's my bike and it's my choice. It was an educated decision. The bearings have no wear, as you can see from the oil clearance on them as well. They were on that crank, they were running on that crank, and they were running fine. Is it best practice to replace them? Yes. Is it absolutely necessary in that circumstance? No. But you know, unless you're going to pop 200 Australian dollars into my PayPal account and say go and buy new bearings, then your opinion really doesn't hold any weight. Because like I said, it's my bike and it's my choice. I've already spent a lot of money in there. Now the other thing around the crankshaft, the rod bolts. On the earlier 900 engines like mine, those rod bolts are reusable and they are better than the replacements that come in now. They're not a torque to yield, they're not a single-use bolt. Nowhere in the factory manual or even in the Haynes manual does it suggest that they aren't reusable. And I've asked the question and I've done the research, and yes, they are reusable. So that's why I reused them. I was actually going to buy some new ones, and then I was told that by Twan that no, don't, because those old bolts are better than the ones that come now. So they'll be fine. The one regret I have, and I'm kicking myself for not doing it, is I didn't spike that plug at the end of the oil passageway. Mike from Gownlock told me that 9 out of 10 that he pulls apart, the plug is loose. Mine wasn't. It was tight. I chose to not disturb it. I figured if it hasn't migrated by now, it's not going to migrate. And what they tend to do is they spin out and then they hit that the casting now adjacent to the main crankshaft bearing, and that screws them back in again. And then they wander out and they screw back in again until such time as they wear through. But yeah, I do regret not doing that. I've also removed the alternator side cover because I was watching the assembly video and I realised that in my haste to beat the failing camera batteries, etc., I didn't go back and confirm the setting, the static timing setting. So I've done that now. So essentially, and I didn't run through it in the video, so essentially what you do, even though I took note of where those pickups were, what you should do, and what I've done subsequently, is you place it on top dead centre in the viewing window for the horizontal cylinder. Then you remove the side cover and you align the centre of the pickups with the marks that are on the flywheel, as you can see in this photo. And that's how you set the static timing. And also while you're doing that, you set the air gap, and I've set my air gap to between 0.6 of a millimetre and 0.7 of a sorry 0.6 and 0.8 of a millimetre with feeler gauges, and I've done that. So I'm pretty pleased I did that. But then you've got all the bloody cleaning the old 3-bond off and refitting it. But you know, you got to be sure. And now I am. I'm on a scrounge here for some tools that I need. So that's why I've come to the markets today. I just wanted to do that little catch up. Anyway, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and comment, and I'll catch you next time when we hopefully get our cylinder heads back. We can throw this thing back in the bike. Bye for now.